Perfect. Welcome to the first Lisk Builders Community Meetup. It is provided by the Lisk Community, specifically Lisk Center Utrecht, and see it as a weekly community gathering where builders can share their project, their ideas, advances they made, but maybe also share challenges they are facing so we can learn together. So every week we will have a short presentation with a Q&A, and afterwards there's room for a quick pitch or another question-answer session. The format is as follows: a quick opening like this, then a presentation followed up by a Q&A, and after 1 hour we will close the official part. Some quick rules: let's not interrupt our speaker during his presentation and keep questions to the end. Everybody has the possibility to talk in the Discord through a push to talk button. And if you do not know how to use it, please ask the questions in the chat channel so we do not interrupt our speaker. And let's introduce Jackson Roberts. He's working on Moracle. It is a toolkit that helps developers create reliable data streams. And during the next 25 minutes, he will quickly talk you through the concept or maybe even show you some code. Thank you for being here, Jackson.
Thank you very much for having me. Oh, looks like a spam bot managed to sneak in here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. One moment. Cool. So today I am going to be talking a little bit about what we've been working on in terms of Moracle. It's a toolkit for building better decentralized applications. So at the moment, there are a lot of different ways to build blockchain applications, but there are some problems with them. So namely, there's an inefficient data structure issue with blockchain applications. All data gets stored as a set of transactions. And so every transaction has to be executed in order to arrive at the current network state. This is why Bitcoin nodes have to sync, and this is also why Lisk nodes have to sync from scratch. Executing every single transaction on a blockchain takes a lot of time. And additionally, it's very difficult to query specific details about addresses and applications unless you have either them stored in the application state, which can get sort of difficult as the data set grows, or you have some sort of third-party indexing service. Additionally, they're unable to access or react to outside data natively. Because transactions must be executed in the same way on every node forever, it means that they're unable to access any outside volatile information. And this is true for every blockchain application platform. It doesn't matter if it's Ethereum or Lisk or anything like that, you're going to run into this issue. So these problems at the moment have mediocre solutions. For example, a past solution for the indexing issue was Electrum. And it's a protocol for lightweight Bitcoin clients, and it allows them to view balances and interact with the network without downloading the entire blockchain. Lisk adopted an Electrum-like protocol for all clients by default, so only the Lisk full nodes, as you guys know, download the entire blockchain, and clients simply communicate with those nodes, similar to how Electrum Bitcoin clients just communicate with Electrum nodes. And this is great for two reasons. It allows fast sending of transactions, and it allows clients to trustlessly verify data using Merkle trees. At the moment, that's a Bitcoin-only feature, but that is coming to Lisk soon. I believe there's a LIP for it. But it also has some weaknesses. Namely, it requires nodes to be run out of charity. Unlike Lisk, where many delegates are the people responsible for maintaining public nodes, Bitcoin miners often don't. They just mine. They don't maintain big public nodes. And so the people who run Electrum servers are just simply good Samaritans. And that means that there's no incentive for high reliability or performance. Another example of a centralized service that blockchain applications depend on are explorers. But we arrive at even more issues when we talk about them. They're indexing services that are completely centralized and require you to trust them completely. Like every single time you go to an explorer to check a balance or to check liquidity, you're trusting that explorer completely that they're giving you accurate data. Additionally, they have some of the same problems as Electrum. There's no incentive for high performance or reliability. They're an absolutely essential service that tons of people use, but they're run by volunteers. Another great example of something of a semi-centralized service that works well with a blockchain application through Lisk is decentralized exchanges. And you'll see more about this next week as the next speaker in this Lisk Builders series is Jonathan Gross-Dubois, who's working on his Lisk decentralized exchange. Decentralized exchanges have several advantages over centralized ones, but they face some pretty difficult challenges that normal centralized exchanges don't face. Particularly querying all the trades of a single user is really time consuming because it would have to go through every single transaction ever on both the target and the destination chain in order to find them. And providing price history data requires indexing large amounts of data as well. So even if we have servers that provide real-time market information, it's very difficult for us to get historical data. And this is due to the limitations of the blockchain data structure. So basically, as we've seen in the past couple slides, blockchain ecosystems need supplemental centralized services. In reaching widespread use, cryptocurrency, for example, really depends on these centralized services. You need blockchain explorers, you need indexing services like Lisk nodes or Electrum nodes that let people interact with the cryptocurrency chain without downloading the whole thing. People need custodial wallets, people need merchant and checkout providers, and people need data APIs to get more information about the chain without running a full node themselves. Or maybe it provides second level indexed information that isn't provided by a full node by default. And so that's why we're building Moracle, which provides two things. The first is a toolkit that allows developers to build centralized services, such as data APIs, explorers, to complement their decentralized apps, and deploy those APIs to a network of servers around the world without paying a dime. Similarly to how you can deploy a decentralized app to a large network of servers for free and you only pay or your users pay when it gets used, deploying a centralized service often requires upfront investment, so it doesn't go well with deploying a decentralized application, and so we're trying to solve that. Additionally, Moracle is a service that allows node operators to elect to run certain instances of data services that developers have published and then get paid when people utilize the services that you're running. And so this helps support a collaborative ecosystem that encourages developers to build indexing services or centralized front ends that give decentralized apps new capabilities and allows them to get paid for it. So for example, super fast transaction and price history for decentralized exchanges, a Whois web service for blockchain domain name systems. You could build webhook notifications triggered by certain types of transactions, meaning you can build applications that react to blockchain events or vice versa. Or you could even use Moracle to build an Oracle service to feed data to blockchain applications. And so unlike it was a couple months ago, Moracle is really not just an Oracle service. It's a platform for extending Lisk decentralized apps with centralized services without sacrificing reliability or immutability. So an example of how I'm planning on using this to provide more features to Jonathan Gross-Dubois' upcoming decentralized exchange. So here's how it works at the moment. So we have a Lisk node, a sidechain node. These are going to be two different assets. And then we have a DEX server, which is responsible for collecting real-time price book information on the exchange. and then an end user gets data from the DEX server and then places transactions on both the Lisk node and the sidechain node, publishing. Hey, electricity in my apartment just went out. I'm really sorry, everyone. You can move to your next item, or I can just finish talking about it. I don't know. Did anyone have any questions? I'm on my phone now. Yeah, it doesn't look. Uh, I'm gonna pull up my presentation on my laptop and just talk. I think I actually hit most of my major points. I really wish I could have gotten to that last example. One moment. Does anyone have any questions so far? If so, I would be happy to answer those. Effectively, if they want more historical data, um, it's difficult because no individual member is incentivized to provide that data. Lisk nodes or sidechain nodes for those networks will only provide information that is for the current network state, not historical. So you can't query for what the balance of an address was at some certain point in the past. Additionally, the DEX server doesn't maintain historical data as well. They just maintain a list of current bids and offers. And so it's possible then to use Moracle, in which the end user's client, in this case, the decentralized exchange, would contact a Moracle node to pre-purchase a small amount of utilization of whatever service that they're interested in, and then can repurchase if satisfied with the results, which mitigates counterparty risk. Then the operator of that data service gets paid, and the user's client can now query the data service. So someone who wrote and then deployed an application which indexes historical price data or trade history for a decentralized exchange would then be able to sell that service to interested parties. And that's basically all I wanted to talk about today. I had some more examples on my deck and my computer, but I cannot use that anymore. And I was just curious if anyone had any questions about this concept, anything that didn't make sense, just so that when I'm writing some official write-ups for Lisk HQ about this concept, and when I release the official developer documentation, I can make it as clear as possible. Rejoining, can anyone hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, very, very cool. Um, cool. So yeah, I typed out an answer to your question, Endro. Basically, a lot of the old Moracle stuff from December through January had some pretty severe design limitations because I was just trying to get a super easy prototype to get people to use, but unfortunately, it wasn't really secure and it ran into more issues the more nodes were on the network. And so I'm hoping the new model will be a lot more robust as everything is completely transactional and no actual individual data requests pass through the chain, which means that the whole system is a lot faster. Thank you for your question. And I'm really sorry my power's out. I really wish I had my PowerPoint presentation and my demo. At the moment, I'm doing this on my own. But if I'd say that I'm absolutely looking for additional developers. We're gonna go completely open source pretty soon on the Moracle Network GitHub. And if anyone wants to collaborate on it and be an official part of the team, I would be super interested in that. So feel free to hit me up on Discord if you're interested in getting more involved with the project. So that's a really great question, Lisk Magazine. I would say that at the moment, it is sort of a community initiative, as we want to build a platform that makes it easier to develop apps on Lisk that are extended by centralized services. Because all of the most successful decentralized applications, whether they're deployed, regardless of the blockchain platform or developer toolkit that they're built with, something that they all have in common, as I went over in my presentation, is that they're supplemented by centralized services. And someone has to be paid to run those, and usually it's a volunteer, which means that those servers aren't ready for high volume. And so what we really want to do is just try to make the Lisk community as best equipped as possible to build solutions that solve this problem. We're probably going to operate as a business that maintains Moracle, but the primary flow of money will be from the users directly to those who are running the essential services that the Lisk network hopefully will grow to depend on. At the moment, there is no business model that's designed to make us money. There's just a business model that's designed to make the node operators money. Yeah, I've explored Oracleize. We're a direct competitor to them, I'd say, because we want to encourage people to build and charge for using cryptocurrency their own independent Oracle services rather than relying on a single centralized trusted Oracle. Moracle allows people to build their own Oracleize it in less than 100 lines of code. Thank you for the great questions. Chainlink is a very interesting product, and we've gotten a lot of inspiration from them ever since Moracle sort of first came to be in 2017. Chainlink was already there as well. So there's some fundamental differences between Chainlink and Moracle. Namely that Chainlink is a bona fide just Oracle platform that will get data from a single service on the web and inject it into your blockchain application through a callback transaction or some other method, depending on the blockchain toolkit being used. At the moment, all they can really do is provide a decentralized way to take a single web resource that already exists and get that data into your application. Moracle goes a step further and builds a framework to make sure that those web services that your blockchain application depends on are actually reliable and that the people running them are compensated for their work. So if you have some sort of supplementary service for your blockchain application that you're querying through Chainlink, with Chainlink, there's no guarantee that that service is up. But with Moracle, unless there's a node that's ready to service your request, the transaction will be rejected. So that, I would say, is the biggest single difference between Chainlink and Moracle. Thank you for the question. Yeah, Chainlink is a super great project. They're just solving a different problem than we are. Chainlink is a service, it's a bandage solution for Ethereum. It's a service that lets people run a node which receives requests and get paid Chainlink for loading web pages and then sending their data to blockchain applications. Moracle lets people get paid for running any sort of supplementary service that goes with a blockchain, whether it's an Oracle or an indexing service or anything of that type, and get paid for it. It's also more general than Chainlink. Probably not. In terms of enterprise usage, one major value proposition I see from Moracle is that we can provide data bridging services to connect legacy systems to blockchain applications. And so that was one of the requirements that the original Moracle design that a lot of you guys saw in December or November lacked due to just its design. But now Moracle makes it really easy to build data bridges that both allow centralized applications to react to changes on a blockchain application, and for blockchain applications to import and react to data that exists outside that. So if enterprises wanted to build anything from cap table management to digital asset tracking to supply chain management to any sort of blockchain application, Moracle would be their go-to tool for data migration and integration with their existing platforms. If Google wanted to build some sort of blockchain platform, they'd probably build everything in house because that's what Google does. But smaller companies that are looking for some sort of off the shelf solution would choose to use Lisk, for example. And then they would find the inability for Lisk to easily integrate with their existing systems or query them. And so that is the service that the Moracle SDK would then provide for business customers. At the moment, it's primarily focused on Lisk. Moracle itself, the transaction layer in which people pay for data services, is built on Lisk, and we primarily intend for people to use it with the Lisk SDK. That's what our SDK is used for. However, there's no specific technical details that limit Moracle to only being used on Lisk. But at the moment, simply because it's the community that we're most interested in, it is a Lisk exclusive product. And I'd also like to say that that extends to the whole Lisk ecosystem. It's particularly a Lisk protocol project and a Lisk SDK project rather than a Lisk mainnet project. That's a really great question. What I was talking about there was sort of Lisk tends to have a different architecture than other blockchain application platforms. So, for example, platforms like Neo or Ethereum, you deploy your application to some mainnet, and that mainnet is then responsible for executing your transaction. On Lisk, your transaction, your entire blockchain application exists completely independently of the Lisk main chain. And so additionally, those applications that are running the more up-to-date versions of the SDK have more capabilities than the Lisk main chain. And the Lisk main chain is primarily a source of stability and a fiat on-ramp for the ecosystem at the moment. And so while Moracle doesn't integrate directly with the Lisk mainnet that as it exists currently, it does exist. It does integrate with applications that are built using newer versions of the Lisk SDK, is what I meant by that. Sorry if that was a bit confusing or poorly worded. That's a pretty fantastic example as well. So we have thought about Chainlink style slashing. So effectively in this problem, Chainlink does have a lot more experience than us. So at the moment, oracles that are built using our platform can be designed to require some sort of multi-signature approval from X number of other nodes on the network. But obviously, this isn't enough to guarantee always accurate data, as we have seen with some of the most recent Oracle attacks. That's a really fantastic question, and we're probably just going to follow whatever leads we find in the rest of the blockchain ecosystem. There's been some great research papers published recently on mitigating this risk, as well as Chainlink is considering implementing slashing, as in when someone provides invalid data as an Oracle response, they lose some amount of staked capital. But in order to answer that question with any sort of accuracy, Moracle would have to be used in production and also attacked, and then we would have to address that specific attack vector, because I think it's going to have very different attack vectors than the Ethereum oracles do,
And I think with enough research and enough time, eventually we'll be able to arrive at a solution that is as robust or more robust as its Ethereum counterparts. But that's a really fantastic question and a complex problem. And my answer is really just we'll have to wait and see, because it's impossible to predict those sorts of vulnerabilities. Thank you for such a great question. Well, if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I'm going to shoot out a sort of developer survey that I prepared prior to my presentation, just getting some of your thoughts on what's most important to you in blockchain SDK, particularly one that's going to be supplemental to Lisk.
I have a quick question. Is it possible for you to share your presentation somewhere? Of course, when you get the power.
I can upload the PowerPoint presentation as soon as I've able to turn my computer on again, and I'll just pop it in this channel. But you guys didn't miss anything. You guys saw most of it. Oh, sorry, I missed your question, Lisk Magazine. At the moment, this is not my full-time job. I am a full-time student, and I also work a normal wage job that pays rent. This is the only blockchain project I'm working on at the moment.
Hey, I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear me before. Can you hear me now?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so I just wanted to give everyone a little update on what's going on with Sidechain Solutions. So currently, we have still been researching our idea for our next development project. It does partially depend on Moracle, so we're excited to see the progress here. Another portion of our idea, unfortunately, is dependent on businesses that are currently not operating. So that's a small concern, but we believe that will all subside over time. We have been still working with what we could call students of the Lisk SDK as of recent, including Dav1, who's here, and another development group who just joined the assistance of Sidechain Solutions. Now, where we can turn our energy possibly is to hackathons, and I really like that we're starting this format already, because some of the hackathons we host may very well be global events as opposed to local ones now, based on everything that's going on. So we're still rolling, and we're glad to see that progress is being made here and that people are getting enthusiastic again. I know that we have all been sort of whipped and beaten here, so I'm proud of everyone who's getting back to it, and let's go ahead and keep up the momentum and keep rolling. Yeah, we'll for sure be looking into online hackathons and also ramping up our scholarship programs. Anyone that we can find who wants to dig into the Lisk SDK, we're more than willing to be there for them. A lot of you guys who are really talented that are in the chat now, be looking out. I might send some people your way coming up, that are asking questions that might want to escalate to a Carbonara or a Jackson or a Lemmy. So, and I appreciate you guys participating.
So I will close it off for today, at least this part. And thank you, Jackson, for the introduction. And hopefully we will see your demo another day. And I'd like to introduce the next speaker next week will be Jonathan Gross-Dubois to talk about LDEX and leasehold. And we already have 3 more meetups scheduled. So be sure, if you want to say something, if you want to pitch an idea, or maybe get to know each other, or get people on board of your project, just keep, use this channel. And otherwise, let's just call it an end for the official part. Thank you, Jackson. Really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to staying in touch with all the people who have messaged me and getting out some updates and some blog posts and some code and some documentation about this project very soon. So thank you guys again.
Perfect. just keep it sharing, and we will try to share it through our channels too. So if there's no more questions right now, then I'll just keep watching the chat channel, and I will quit talking. Have a good day, everybody.
You as well. Have a great rest of your evening, and for the Americans in the chat, have a great rest of your morning.